Hello, and we are live. This is Kai, and welcome to the Healing Element Podcast. I am here with my very special guest today, my fiancé. Hooray!
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be on Kai's podcast as a guest, as opposed to being her number one supporter.
Yes.
Different role.
Yes, and I appreciate it. I appreciate him coming on. And we're going to have a discussion today about how couples can create their own traditions and why it's important, and how we have created our own traditions and how it's benefited us. So first, again, I want to say thank you for joining us. This is going to be the last episode of the Healing Element podcast for 2020. Taking a little mini break, and then we'll be back up again on January 5th, I believe. And for that episode, I will have Shevel Mavens, founder and CEO of Addiction Prevention. And we're going to be talking about, what is it now? I lost my train of thought.
They'll come back to you.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot. And as soon as, while I was saying this, I was like, you don't remember. Cults, that's what it is. They're going to be talking about different cults, and how why someone may join a cult, and if they want to leave a cult, the challenges that they may face when wanting to leave. So that's a very deep topic. I'm looking forward to that conversation, and that will be coming up again on January 5th, if that's a Tuesday. My brain is a little scrambled. I guess I'm so excited that you're here that I'm not thinking right. So handsome that I'm totally distracted. Did I embarrass you?
No, not at all. I'm used to it. No,
I know, right? I say the darndest things. Okay, so with that being said, we are going to jump into it for a fun conversation tonight. Typically, the episodes are about an hour. We'll see how long this one goes. This is a nice laid back conversation compared to the heavier topics that I usually do. Again, why is this topic important? We just know that, being a couple, especially, I guess I can only say this day and age, I don't know of another day and age that we were a couple in. So I can only say that it can be, hey, Shevel, I can only say that it can be challenging being a couple. There's different distractions, I guess, and also demands that couples have, whether it be friends or family or just society in general. So this is an opportunity for me to let you guys a little bit more into my world, my relationship with Dwayne, to share with you some things that we have done in our relationship to just make it really ours and not really focus on what other people think we should do, but focus on what's best for us as a couple. So with that being said, I'm just going to mention the tradition or something that we've added to our relationship, and then Dwayne will expound upon it, and then I will probably add my little 2 cents after.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
Because you sort of touched on it, but do you think it's important for us to let people know why we, as a couple, have decided to create these new traditions?
No. I'm just kidding. Yes. Okay, so you explain.
I would say that this is important to lay the groundwork for what we're going to be talking about in today's episode. But I think for us, we have to recognize the type of society we live in. And our society feeds us as individuals, as households, and as families, a lot of negative things and unrealistic standards that we are told that we need to either meet or subscribe to. And I think for us, on our individual journeys as growing, both Kai and I are committed to being the highest version or the best version of ourselves in this lifetime. We realized that we had to create these new norms, these new ways of doing things. Some people might call them rituals. Some people might just call them best practices. But we recognized that if we wanted to ultimately accomplish 2 things, be the highest version of ourselves and also maintain a strong and resilient relationship as the years progress, that we need to develop new norms and new ways of thinking for us to be able to recommit ourselves in terms of our behavior and our way of thinking to those ultimate goals, which brings us to what we'll be talking to all of you about today, essentially letting all of you into our world. So
beautifully done. I have to bring you back. So that's important, Dwayne, that you laying the foundation to explain why this conversation is important, and also, of course, why we have implemented certain things in our lives. And again, just want to say really quick, this doesn't mean that we are perfect, right? There's no such thing as a perfect couple, because there's no such thing as perfect people. So this is not to say that, there are things that we still work through in our relationship, which when we go through these different type of traditions that we've created, or rituals, if you will, you'll begin to see like, oh, okay, that's how they kind of work through different challenges. So the first one that we want to talk about is meditation, especially morning meditations during the week, and of course the weekend.
Yeah, so meditation. I think this is one of the early behaviors that we as a couple and also as individuals adopted that previously wasn't being practiced. And I'll speak from my personal perspective, and then I'll expound upon our relationship, and then Kai will come in to connect everything together. But for me, there were a number of motivating factors for me to consider meditation and then become fully committed to it. I would say that a big part of the motivating factors was the amount of stress that I was dealing with in my work life or my career life. And then coupled with that, in terms of just being able to find a space for my mind to shut down. I'm the type of person where I tend to like overthink things. And I realize when combining that with the stress of work, the stress of life, the stress of paying bills, the stress of X, Y, and Z, then it began to affect my ability to, one, de-stress, and then also two, to be able to actually get the proper amount of sleep, which affected how I showed up in the world as an employee, as a manager, as a boyfriend, and then also more recently as a fiancé. So I can definitely say from a personal perspective, I was skeptical about meditation at first. That's something that Kai introduced me to, and I'm thankful for it. And I also want to add another thing too. All these rituals, practices, ways of living that we'll be walking you through today, it's not something that we just adopted like this.
Right.
It took time. Like it took, I would say, a good year and a half for me to really become comfortable with meditating, and then also understanding how it affected all those other areas of my life that I just walked you through. I will stop. Let Kai come in now.
Well, I wanted to ask you about meditation, because a lot of times when I mention meditation or having that type of conversation with people, they'll say, I don't know how to meditate. So do you think that as far as meditating, was it something that you didn't want to do? Was it just kind of not in your world, meditating, or did you hear about it and you thought, I don't know how to do that. I can't do it. I'm not doing it right. I can't quiet my mind. What were your initial thoughts on that?
Initially, I wasn't open to it, and I didn't see the benefits of it. And I would say, again, many of the things that we do as humans are passed down, right? Our behavior, for the most part, is learned whether we want to acknowledge it or not. Mm-hmm. So meditation was not something I was exposed to coming up. It wasn't practiced in my household, wasn't practiced around my family and friends, people at school, or even the coworkers that I really associated with. So, and then also number two, I think I've been taught as a man by society that men are not supposed to really focus on our well-being. We're supposed to just power through things and ignore things. Oh, that doesn't bother me. Well, in reality, it does. So I was also coming from that type of thinking as well, where like, oh, meditation, is that what a man is supposed to be doing? And then also, I didn't know anybody that did it personally besides Kai. So I would say those were two main motivating factors, on top of this whole idea of like, well, how do I meditate? I don't got time to sit there in quiet for an hour. That sounds crazy. Mm-hmm. So those are the three major barriers. And I would definitely say, like, as a part of me adopting meditation into my personal life, and then also us as a couple, I realized I had to start at my own pace, right? Like Kai took to it much quicker than I did. She would be the one like, oh, let's meditate for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And I'm like, oh, let's try 5 or 10, So when we're talking about meditation, one of the things I would definitely say people who are considering it is understand that this is going to be your own personal journey. So there's nothing wrong where if it's your max amount of meditating is 10 minutes and that's the farthest you will ever get, that is totally acceptable. If you get to a half an hour or an hour, that's acceptable too. I always try to relate things back to my own personal journey and what do I want to get out of it. And that's the way I would advise anybody is considering stepping into the space of meditation. Again, what do you want to get out of it? And be realistic with yourself in terms of your ability to concentrate or just block out that amount of time that you are aspiring to make use of in terms of your meditation practice.
I agree. And that's the thing too. A lot of people think that, I have to meditate for 20, 15, 30 minutes. You don't. You meditate where you feel comfortable. And if that's a 5-minute meditation that you are totally kind of like in the zone, you are present there, then that's what you need. Because if I meditate for 20 minutes, but I am not physically or mentally, I should say, there. If I'm not physically, we're gonna have a whole nother conversation. But if I'm not if I'm not mentally there, then am I really meditating for 20 minutes, or am I just doing something to go through the motions so I can tell other people like, I do this for X amount of time. So it's really the relationship that you're developing with your inner world. And it doesn't have to look a certain way. Like when Dwayne was saying, as far as his experience, there's people that do walking meditations, and there's so many different types. So if you're like, well, me sitting down on a meditation pillow in a dark room doesn't work for me, then just try different things and see what does work for you. Again, we're all different, so we can't all look through our meditation practice through the same lens. I will say for the ladies, if you're trying to get your partner, husband, fiance to meditate, and he's like, guys don't really do that. I have learned it's better not only for men to experience it through practicing with Dwayne, but also for them to see the value. So if I'm like, Dwayne, let's sit quietly, eyes closed, and I put on my like yoga music, he's going to look at me like, what are you doing and why are you doing that? So if I explain to him like, okay, are you having trouble focusing, sleeping? If things going on at work, are you having trouble kind of managing emotions, managing stress? If he says yes to that, then we can say, well, what about meditation? That kind of opens the door to that conversation. And then finding a type of practice that works best for him and allowing him to explore it without me saying, this is what you should be doing and this is how long you should be meditating. Because at first I would try to say, Dwayne, why are you moving? Like we're only a few minutes in. And he's like, and it's his journey, right? So I can't tell him how long he should meditate. This is his process and his journey.
I got to say, the advice that you just walked all of us through, I think can be interpreted on many levels. I would say that our experiences, not only with meditation and also the other things we'll be talking about today, has also taught us how to properly communicate, helped us along the way in terms of learning how to properly communicate with each other. Because Kai made a very good point in terms of recognizing that this is my own personal journey. And even though my journey is connected to her as, my fiance, my life partner, my future wife, this is still my own individual journey, and the same thing for her.
Right.
So, and I also want to add to that, where not only did it allow us to establish better boundaries in terms of knowing when to step in or when to provide advice or just letting the other person do what they're doing, but I would say another great thing or another recommendation I want to put out to this is you can bring your partner along just by doing it. In the beginning, when I was skeptical, where I was just like, I don't know if I really want to commit the time or the energy to do this, one of the things that motivated me to continue to engage in meditation and make it a regular part of my life was the outcomes for Kai. I noticed that her energy was way more calm. I noticed that she would be more thoughtful towards me, and our level of communication was just better. So this is something I want all of you to consider in terms of the things we'll be talking about today, where just doing you through these practices can help to bring other people in your lives along the way in terms of inspiring them to try some of these things because they see the benefit it's bringing you. And in many times we don't realize the practices or the new ways of thinking that we introduce to other people, how it could potentially impact them, even if they don't do it, just because it's impacting us in a positive way. So
yes, that's true. I'm glad you said that. Through you seeing how meditation was having a meditation practice benefited me, then you were more inclined to say, oh, maybe I should give this a try. And it's funny because early on, even now, when I am not meditating as often as I should, I think I could say that as often as I should, or I kind of fall off of my routine and I'm kind of being a little nutty. Dwayne's like, you need to go meditate.
Definitely verbatim. There's been, but again, even in that statement shows how these practices have brought us closer and allowed us as partners or as a couple in a relationship to get to know each other on a deeper level, where I can sense just by how she speaks, how she behaves, or even her energy. I'm like, you haven't been meditating lately.
Yes.
So I become like her check, like, well, you need to get back into meditation. And the same thing for me. We're kind of like, Dwayne, I think you need to go meditate, or Dwayne, you need to go have some of your own alone time. But that in itself is a beautiful thing, that through these practices, we really got to know each other on a deeper level, where we help to be each other's, I don't want to say create boundaries for each other, but each other's little push, like nudge, like, yeah, you need to go meditate.
We kind of check each other. I know when you say check, it usually seems like confrontational, but it's a way that we kind of check each other to make sure that we are balanced. We're balanced internally. So another one, because there's a couple that we want to get through, Sunday evening. So there's a tradition that we have, or like we said, we're kind of using ritual and traditions interchangeably.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid of ritual.
There's nothing bad with the term ritual. It's just a term. Yeah.
It's just a term. So Sunday evening, this is something that we do nearly every Sunday evening, unless something has happened that for some reason we can't do it. Typically, this is what we do Sundays as we prepare for Monday.
So Sunday, and again, this best practice ritual, whatever you want to call it, is something that we discovered that we needed to do. Typically, for most Americans, even with COVID going on, the most stressful day and hours of the week are Sundays after 5 p.m. And again, going back to some of the things that I was talking about that motivated me to get into meditation, I found particularly at one point in my life where I had a really, really demanding, stressful job, anxiety would start to kick in. I couldn't sleep. I can tell you I've become irritable. And also, I found there were similar things going on with you as well. So we were like, okay, how do we mitigate this? How do we ensure that the stress, this external stress that we have in front of a proper way to deal with, doesn't affect our relationship or our interactions as a couple? Well, we came up with our Sunday routine where we would commit ourselves to doing a longer meditation practice. So depending on what that meant, that could be between 20 minutes up to an hour. We would really, particularly after 8 o'clock, start to slow everything down, like no TV, typically get into bed. And even right before we actually start to sleep, Kai will put on some either soothing music, music of, what's the megahertz of it? I forgot the name.
I think it's like 452 or something like that?
Yeah,
I think it's 452. There's a certain type of music frequency or vibratory frequency with music that is supposed to help with just basically help the body. I think it's by 452, but I'm not positive.
So this has become basically our Sunday routine. And even though, thankfully, many of the factors that motivated us to adopt this ritual best practice, many of those factors have changed. Some of them have left our lives. Some of them have not been as intense as they used to have been. We've stayed committed to the Sunday practice because we just found it prepares us for the week. Like Mondays, we on Sunday evenings, we tend to have very rested sleeps. So Monday we wake up feeling refreshed as opposed to waking up with a so-so type of sleep or waking up, stressed or feeling anxiety. The meditation, the quietness, the disconnecting from the negative things that we see on TV creates that space that we need that powers us through the rest of the week.
Very true. And so just along with the meditation, we also give thanks. We send words of comfort and healing to friends and family. So it's really a very beautiful time, just a chance for us to remember things that are important to us, people that are important to us, and just a moment to pause. So I really appreciate that, because I'm sure those that are listening now and will be listening, we can always find something to complain about, obsess about. So it's really nice when Dwayne and I just take that time Sunday night to remember all of our blessings and,
Gratitude.
and just, and maybe if you're a couple watching this, maybe that's the time you can journal together. Again, see what will work best for you. But that's something that we really appreciate. And I think too, like it got to the point where sometimes where I'm like, I just want to go to bed. And Dwayne's like, no, we have to do our Sunday meditation. So it's a commitment, right? It's a commitment that that we do.
And I just want to touch on the point of gratitude. Mm-hmm. When we go through that process or that practice on Sundays, it really helps to put things in perspective. I think we live in a society that always tells us that the next accomplishment, the next goal, the next thing that we overcome is what really brings us to the place that we want to be in. When truthfully, there is no one place there's never going to be a place in our lives where we're going to have everything that we want. Mm-hmm. But through that process where, we speak to each other, we acknowledge the things that we have, we acknowledge our relatives, our loved ones, the people who impacted us in a positive way. It helps to put things in perspective. Life will never be perfect. It's not meant to be. We will never have all the things materially that we think that we deserve. Mm-hmm. That does not mean that within that, we're not capable of living lives that we find, I don't want to quote unquote say happy, but a life that has meaning. Mm-hmm. And when we have these conversations with each other on Sunday evenings, it's a reinforcement to that, like, hey, especially with what's been going on with COVID, I'm very thankful. I feel very grateful for the lifestyle that we have and the relationship that we have. Yes, we put in the work to get where we're at, and we're putting in the work to maintain these things. But at the end of the day, not almost any situation you can find yourself in, there's someone that always has it worse. So within that, we say our words of gratitude, and it helps to reinforce to us what we have.
Right.
So.
Yes, and I think a great follow-up to that is blessing our home. So two things I want to mention about this, and then Dwayne, you can dive into them if you want. So the first one is anytime we move into a new space, which we recently did, we relocated from Connecticut. So now we're in North Carolina. So before moving in, we definitely bless the space, and we can say that through prayers, affirmations, also through using sage. And also, if we notice that we're kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? We're clashing a little bit. So usually we'll start to deduce and say, is something going on? What's going on in your world? And if we're like, no, there's no other stressor, then we'll do a cleanse through our home. So do you want to talk about, I guess, the first, when we move into a new place?
Yeah, so we believe it's very important for us to bless the space that we'll be spending the majority of our time. Let's be real. Even if you work outside of your home, the place that you still cumulatively will spend most of your time will be your home. So we believe in making our home as comfortable as possible. And I want to speak about this from the perspective that when we move into a place, it's a new beginning, not just for us, but our relationship with that environment. Mm-hmm. So the purpose of us of blessing our home is to not only declare that this is our home, and we're committed to making sure that we feel that sense of home every time, whenever we're at home, but we also want to make this declaration to ourselves that we're creating a new relationship with the space. Mm-hmm. The people who previously occupied it, their intentions, how they treated the place is no longer relevant. Right. So.
Yeah, it's true. So we're now putting whatever energy, I'll go there, whatever energy was in this space.
Stop scaring people.
Whatever energy is in the space, we're moving that. That's why we reduce the smudging. We move that energy out, fresh energy coming in, so that way we can really be comfortable and make our house a home. And then when we talked a little, yes, it's important to start out. Yes, you want to start out with that good, positive energy, for your new home, especially if you have little ones. You want to make sure that there's an environment where everyone can be comfortable and live, grow, and thrive. Okay, and then we touched upon communicate. If we're having communication issues, that we may say, maybe we need to kind of clear the air.
Definitely, I think that's something that I think any person or family or couple should do within their home. And I want to add to what Kai was saying too. You don't necessarily have to do what we do. Doing a thorough cleaning like every season, right? Mm-hmm. Also helps to recreate a new sense of feeling or energy within your home. So you can utilize the things that we do, but you can also, if you're like, okay, that's not my speed, you can literally just do a thorough cleaning and you will feel the energy, moving certain things around, getting rid of the clutter. These are all things that help to lead to the same place as well. We have our own specific ways of doing things and why we do it. Like at the times where we feel that we're clashing, where we're like, okay, we need to do a thorough cleaning. We need to unclutter the place, get rid of this stuff, put this stuff in recycling, and it'll help to reinvigorate, the type of environment or the energy that we want. But I just want to add and say again, just doing a thorough cleaning can also get you to that place as well.
Yes. And one thing that I like to do when we do a cleaning is I like to, because of if there's like tension, one thing that's really big that I think is important that I use is then using some type of incense or burning some type of scent that creates also this relaxing, cleansing atmosphere. So many people, they don't like the smell of sage, but there's different types of, things that you can use to kind of.
What about the machines that put out the air?
Oh, a diffuser. What is it? A diffuser.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can do that. Yeah, you can use that. And that's what we also use. Sometimes I will just like kind of light some candles and then put anything to just kind of bring some peace. And you'll be amazed at how just through a nice cleaning, some maybe a little bit of music if that's your thing, but some candles, and that's not to set the mood.
It
could be. But it could just help kind of lighten the atmosphere. So those are all helpful things. The other thing is, before we get into things that are because this is really deep stuff. So we have some other things in here that are a little bit on a lighter note. But before we get to the lighter note stuff, we also have created the relationship that we want, meaning we don't look at relationships on mainstream media or the relationships with other people to then try to replicate that in our own lives. We committed pretty early on, I don't even know if it was on a conscious level, to really build a foundation that we wanted. So I'll stop talking with that.
Mm-hmm. Very early on in the relationship, I said to Kai very bluntly, I said, if you ever have an issue with me, and whether it relates to me personally or how my conduct in our relationship, you come straight to me. You don't go to your friends. You don't go to your family members. You don't go to your coworkers. You come straight to me. And that's the way how I operate with you. And I think for me personally, this is very important because of the things that I've observed, not only coming up, but as an adult. We live in our society where people always think the answer is external. And that's not necessarily true. And connecting that to Kai, I don't know what a relationship should look like. Let me watch people on reality TV. Let me look to a celebrity. Let me look to an authority figure, maybe pastor and his wife or whoever. And I'm not putting down these people. But what I'm saying is, from my personal journey and the journey that I've been in with Kai in our relationship, I've come to realize one very important fundamental truth. Things are never what they seem. We don't let on that our relationship is perfect. It might appear to some people that it is, but it's not. We have problems just like everyone else. The difference is that we've committed and recommitted ourselves to being truthful to the other person about what the problems are. And because of that, we both had to grow. As in, if you want to talk about the most insecure place you can ever be in, that's being in a relationship that you're committed to. Mm-hmm. And for me to get where I'm at, and I still have a very long way to go, I had to face a lot of insecurities within myself as a man, from my childhood, from me being a provider. I'm like, can I do this? Or even to now, with us committing ourselves to marriage. So I'm connecting this back to the overall point that Kaii brought up. It's very important for us to be honest, to be direct, and then also to go through this journey of self-discovery, because through this relationship, I've come to discover a lot of things about myself, a lot of things that I didn't want to see. And again, still have a far way to go, but connecting it to that point, if there's any issues in our relationship, we come to each other first. We cannot go to external people. No disrespect to them, but they live in their realities. They are operating from behaviors that have been taught to them. Maybe some of those behaviors they've questioned. I would say in most cases, most people have not. But I feel like I'm going to rant. So
no, you're doing great. No, everything that you said is so important when you are looking to build a relationship that works for you and your partner, right? So when you talked about as far as insecurities, yes, there are insecurities that I had to work through, continue to work through. And it's right, as soon as you feel like, oh, I'm good now, I think I worked through it, something happens, you're like, what the is this? Yeah. So you're right, there are levels to it. And so the other thing is too, when you are looking to build a relationship that works for you and your partner, that leaves you in a very vulnerable spot, because that means you're really opening up to show sides of you that maybe you've hidden forever, right? Maybe sides that no one else has seen, that now, because you've made this commitment to build something that works for both of you, it's now kind of opening up all those different parts of you that maybe you wanted to kind of keep close because you didn't want to let anyone in. So this has definitely been a journey for us to build a relationship that works for us, and also defining the roles that we each have in our relationship. Some things I had to learn because I just didn't see it. So I had to kind of grow into it. And so that's the other thing too, is how do you, learning how to give your partner space to grow into roles, especially when they didn't have an example of what you need them to be or what you agreed that they would be in the relationship.
That's a very excellent point. And I connected back to a statement I made a couple of minutes ago about we are taught either consciously or about subconsciously about who we are, what our roles is, and the appropriate behaviors. So as a part of the process of us working collectively to develop the type of relationship that we wanted, we have had to work to unlearn many different things that we've learned from our childhood, in terms of how we communicate, in terms of how, and I think this is a very important lesson that we've been learning over time and we're implementing too, which is to always defend the relationship. Yeah. And I feel this is important to bring up because that's something that Kaii and I have noticed that many people don't do. Not to say that your partner isn't perfect, not to say that your partner shouldn't be open to constructive criticism. We firmly believe in that, and trust me, Kaii can tell you, I provide her with constructive criticism, and so does she provide constructive criticism to me. That motivates us to be better people and better partners for each other.
And it always doesn't feel good when you're getting the criticism, right? But it's help you grow. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no. I was just gonna say, but there's a difference between that and you not defending your partner and your relationship. And that's another thing that even though I'm not trying to say we've ever had an issue with it, but again, when it comes to us creating the type of relationship that we want, we realize that responsibility is on us, not on other people. And other people are not really going to help you with that, because many people wouldn't know how to do that themselves. And even for the people that do, doesn't mean that they necessarily want you to get to that place. So this going back to the overall point, like in terms of the relationship that we've been building and how we treat each other, we had to face ourselves in the mirror. We had to agree that to ourselves, not even to our partner, but to ourselves, there are certain things that we had to learn. And in that, the most important step was being honest and saying, I don't have the answer to everything.
Yeah. And I will say, I think I may have mentioned this in previous episodes. If I haven't, this could probably lead into an episode. But I had major transition when we moved. And so I had to have a conversation with Dwayne because I was going into a role from working, having a career, to starting a business and being at home and not working full time. And that was a huge transition for me. And so I had to have a conversation with Dwayne and said, listen, I know I've been cranky, but this is what I'm going through. And I had to figure out my why. I had to figure out why are my emotions all over the place? So I had to get quiet time with myself so then I could know what was going on within me to communicate with him. Like, I'm sorry. I know I haven't been the easiest to deal with, but I'm going through a transition and I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm feeling scared. And then that, even telling him that, was a whole nother layer of vulnerability. But because we had that conversation, he then knew how he could show up for me. And then it just helped the situation a lot more than if I just kept it to myself. So I just wanted to add that little bit.
Very good example.
Very good example. That's the major one, the most recent one. Yeah, so the other one, now this is on a lighter note, birthdays. This is something that actually Dwayne is the one that really shared with me about the importance of birthdays. So early on when we started dating, so it had to be my birthday was coming up first. Yeah, obviously. So my birthday was coming up first. And Dwayne's like, so what are you doing for your birthday? I was like, oh, I'm going to work. And he's like, you work on your birthday? Like and I was like, yes. He's like, I don't work on my birthday. I take my birthday off.
It could be Wednesday. I'm not going to work.
And I was like, really? So can you talk a little bit about taking the birthdays off, the conversation we had about that, and then how that's evolved now that we're together?
I can't tell you how far back I've been doing this since I've had quote unquote real job. But for as long as I can remember, I have never worked on my birthday. I'm a firm believer. We find ourselves in environments that are not kind, not welcoming, around people who may be openly hostile to us or just maybe ignore us. Within that, the day that you were born is a special day. I believe that every single person on this earth is special in their own individual way, and that their birthday should be celebrated. And in celebrating your birthday, you should be around people who value you. And let's be clear, for most people, it's not the people that they work around. So based on that understanding, I've always made it a point to take my birthday off. And then the second point I want to connect to, which Kai brought up, is that I'm a firm believer in the importance of life is experience. Having experiences with people who bring value to me and that I bring value to. So connecting those 2 points, one, I never work on my birthday. Like I said, it could be Wednesday. I'm taking Wednesday off. Y'all see me on Thursday or maybe Friday. And then also, too, birthdays, and Kai can tell you, I don't believe that gifts should be the prime way that you show someone you value them. It should be by creating an experience. And since we started dating, I've brought Kai along to that way of thinking where one, always take. I see Shevel saying, I've worked on every birthday. You shouldn't. I'm sorry, you shouldn't. You should be spending time with the people who matter to you and bring value to you. Maybe some of those are your coworkers. You can invite them out to do whatever you want, whatever you're doing.
On your day off.
On your day off, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
And then the other point is that I brought Kai along to understand is that it's great to get gifts, but really, if you really want it, and I've explained this to Kai, even at times where both of us didn't have much money, I told her, I said, gifts really don't matter to me. There's been times on my birthday or for, Christmas or Valentine's where she's actually created a gift. And I found value in that. And I truly appreciated it because to me, it's the experience that I'm having with you. Mm-hmm. So now where we are, all of our birthdays that we celebrate with each other are based off experiences. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's a card. Yes, there might be a small little gift, but it's really about the experience. Now, there's some things that we've done, such as jumping out of planes, skydiving, down to other things where we've gone rafting down a river or for a boat ride. So when I'm saying about the experiences that we create with each other, we create for each other, again, it's still not related to money. Some of these things, I'll admit, skydiving is a little bit more expensive, but some of the other things that we've done and that we created those memories that when we see those pictures, when we reminisce, our faces light up. Some of those things weren't that expensive at all. Some of them were actually free. But what I'm saying is how we look at strengthening our relationship and creating those memories is just making use of that time. So
yes, and so the thing is, what we do. So Dwayne's birthday comes up. He takes the day off. I also take the day off. And I remember one year I had an audit for my job, and it was during the week of Dwayne's birthday. And I was so stressed because I was like, I got to take this day off. I think I still took the day off.
Somehow she did it.
Not going to say how, but I still I took that day off. I was like, listen, it is his birthday. I have to take it off. And then the other thing that we do is that we plan the whole day. So, we'll plan breakfast. If there's a morning activity, lunch, that literally that whole day we plan together. And it's just, yes, you're creating memories. Yes, which is priceless. Exactly, Shevel. So that's what we do. So we'll plan a whole day. And it's fun, too, because, it's a day full of surprises. So Dwayne has no idea what he's going to do for his birthday. All he just has to do is show up. And then we plan then we go on the day of activities. I'm trying to think, what do we do? Do you have one that you had the most fun, or?
I mean, honestly,
what about when we went to Miami and you flew the plane?
Oh, that was a big surprise. So the funny thing, this was happening around my cousin's wedding.
Yeah,
so,
it was. Whew.
So my cousin was getting married. Right, it was literally, I think, a day or two before my birthday. So in my mind, I was like, okay, we're going down to Florida to be around my family. So I didn't expect us to do much for my birthday. I found a way around that. And not only did I end up, she surprised me with a plane ride. And that's been one of my bucket list things.
You were the pilot.
Flying it. Yeah, that's been one of my bucket list things, in terms of flying a plane and then getting my pilot license. Yes, I'm all about experiences, right? So it was so beautiful that she was able to still do that and surprise me, because I had no clue where we were heading or what we were going to do. So we went for the plane ride. I got a chance to actually take control, actually fly the controls and do all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, so I can actually do this. And then on top of that, after that, she hooked me up. She surprised me for lunch with brunch.
Yeah.
With a close friend of mine that actually moved down to Miami. So not only did I have a fabulous plane flight experience, but she also allowed me to reconnect with a very close friend of mine that I hadn't seen in a good 6 or 7 years. Mm-hmm. So, but like I said, it was just, that's how we operate now. Well, everything, we create experiences with each other. And now, as you can see my facial expression when she brought it up, I was like, oh yeah, that was a great time, because it was a beautiful experience that I was having with Kai. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, I think I have a video of that. So I'll link it to the description box when Dwayne was flying a plane for his birthday. So yeah, so it's all about creating those memories. And we, enjoy it. We enjoy it. And I think too, it's just your partner spending time creating a day. That in itself makes you feel special. It's just wow, there's so much going on, but Dwayne's still making time to figure out what we're going to do for the morning, the afternoon. And the fun thing too is that a lot of times the places that we'll go to eat or activities that we'll engage in, they're things that I have mentioned that I thought he forgot about. And all of a sudden we're doing it on my birthday. So again, it adds to the relationship. He's listening.
Mm-hmm. Same here. Well, we'll mention things in passing, and then, it could have been said 6, 7, 8 months previously, and then bam, on birthday or some other day that we decide, well, we're doing it.
Right.
And it just adds to that, as Kai was saying, that, we listen to each other and that we really know each other as well. So mm-hmm. which reinforces the experience, the importance of the experience and the value that we bring each other.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then last, but certainly not least, our New Year's Eve, what we do every New Year's Eve together, we create our vision board.
Oh, yeah. The very important best practice and ritual for us. We believe in being forward thinking. We always believe in having a vision for our lives, how we want to live it, and then build a plan around it. And for the new year, that vision board is the vision and it's the building blocks where literally we've had a vision. Well, Kai was the one who actually introduced me to the practice because you were doing vision boards before we started dating.
Yeah, I started when I was in Albany because I was like, life's got to get better than this. So I was like, something's got to give. So I was like, somebody had said to me, oh, make a vision board. I said, I don't know. Sure. If that'll help me get out of feeling miserable, I'll do it. And then since then, I've created them and now Dwayne and I do. We've been doing them for a few since we got together, I think.
We've been doing at least 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And the beautiful thing, there are many beautiful things about doing vision boards. One, it allows us to lay out our individual and our couple-related objectives for the new year. And then we can compare and contrast to the vision boards that we developed in previous years. And this is the thing about vision boards. I think many people who do vision boards put goals on them that they don't think that they can actually achieve. Mm-hmm. But if you do the vision boards and you do them over a number of years and look back, you'll actually start to realize that many of the things that you've laid out, you actually accomplished, or you started the actual work towards to actually get there. Mm-hmm. And so as I talk about the vision boards, it's not only a powerful thing that a powerful practice or ritual that brings us together. Because I'm like, so what are you thinking about doing this year? And then Kyle will say the same thing for me. And then we're like, okay, all right. So how are we going to start doing this? Like we actually, it allows us on New Year's Eve as we transition to New Year's to be in a positive mind state about the possibilities, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to be like, oh, well, watching something on TV, oh, there's going to be something bad's going to happen, or, being out with other people. There's nothing wrong with that, but we're creating that space, right? That space for us to envision and believe and then build something for our relationships, us as individuals over the next 12 months. Right. And it's kind of fun. Like, you guys are probably gonna think that this is dorky, but I enjoy like going to, like when we go to the grocery store and we look at the different, some of these magazines are hilarious. What's on the cover. And the topics, but it's just, again, it's about spending quality time with the person, and then making the boards together. And also the thing that Dwayne and I do, especially when we're doing our Sunday evening routine, we'll also take a look at our vision boards and just as a moment to kind of look over what we said that we wanted to manifest in our lives. And another way of us holding each other accountable, like, okay, you said you wanted to, let's say, like, eat right, get in shape. You're like, are you doing that? So it's just another way for us to show support to each other. Anything else? I think those are the top ones that we wanted to mention. We could go on and on. But we just want to give you information in bite sizes for you, of all you can consider, and just think about how it could possibly work in your life and your journey. Yes, and I think, again, going back to the importance of building a relationship that works best for you as a couple, I think that's what makes us work, is that we don't look to see what another couple is doing. I don't look and see, well, what's going on in mainstream, how women are being portrayed in relationships. I have to figure out how do I need to show up in this relationship? And that's it. And not compare myself or our relationship to anyone else. Because as Dwayne said, a lot of these relationships may look perfect, but they're not, right? Because we're not perfect. Humans are not perfect. So of course a relationship cannot be perfect. Thanks, Shevel. Thanks for listening. So I think, do you have anything else you want to add? No, I think surprisingly we were able to cover it all, and this is not short. Doing a decent amount of time. So yeah. Yes. All right. So with that being said, thank you so much for coming on. Mm-hmm. And for those that are listening, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Please like and share. Also subscribe. The subscriber number is slowly starting to climb. So I appreciate keep supporting it. Keep pushing it up. Keep liking and sharing. Show the support. Thank you. Definitely. So yes, and if you are listening on the podcast, please make sure you leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. And when this video is uploaded to YouTube, I think I can add on the video when you were flying, and maybe I can add on some other birthday celebrations so you guys can check those out.
So if you are listening on a podcast, just head over to the Healing Element YouTube channel so that you can check out the videos, so that you can see all the fun birthday activities. With that being said, please visit my website, KaiMarie.com, to learn about more services that I offer, also upcoming trainings. And you guys have a fabulous night, and I will see you in the new year. Happy New Year. Happy holidays.
Make sure you make your vision board.
Yes. Bye, y'all.
Bye.